Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm the superstar, Derek the Master.
This is Screen Bloody Movies, a podcast where we review a horror movie each week. Go over the horror news, and Derek steals nicknames from Billy Graham, the superstar Billy Graham. That's a wrestling deep cut for our wrestling fans out there, of which Derek and I are.
My reference was from something different, but we'll go with that.
Mary Catherine Gallagher. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It was. Yes, it was.
Either way, you're a thief. It doesn't matter.
There are no original ideas.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Had a good weekend.
I made it here. It's half the battle.
Happy Father's Day to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Happy Father's Day to you as well.
I like how you put on a parade wave. Like, yes, I am a father. Like,
I once impregnated someone. I have a seed. No, it was a good day. Good Father's Day, my first. And, I got a lot of smiles today. And Sarah's a little jealous of my ability to make Connor smile. But what are you going to do? Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't.
Hey,
and I just told her today.
Go ahead.
I told her today that she doesn't watch the show, so I can talk as much shit as I want. She's gonna watch this episode. This is the one she's gonna watch. And she's
you just
like,
wait.
Damn, you're mean.
Until you're the preferred one that he wants to cuddle with or hug on and something like that.
Already there, bro.
That is going to not go over well. Let me tell you.
So, guys, we've got a lot to talk about. Well, not a lot, but we have some stuff to talk about before we get into Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, which is a drastic change from last week's film.
Yes,
I will say.
Yes.
But before we, it's a hot take, but I just think this one's going to be on a higher scale. Let's get into the horror news. Check this out. Speaking of poo, Natasha Henstridge is starring. She's got a movie in the works, called Cinderella's Revenge. It's a horror movie. The film watches as the wicked stepsisters and stepmother of Cinderella push her too far, leading her to swap her glass slippers in pursuit of blood-soaked vengeance with the help of her fairy godmother. Henstridge plays the fairy godmother, by the way. What do you guys think of this concept?
I say go with it. Rock it. Let's see it. It's got to be better than the movie we reviewed last week, so there's that.
Yeah.
Lydia, what do you think?
I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think if you go with that angle, there's actually at least a logical reason for the story to take place, I feel like.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of fun. I don't know about the, this goes in cycles. We'll have a bunch of horror movies based off fairy tales for a while, and then it will dissipate, and then it'll happen again. In the 90s, we had Rumpelstiltskin. I don't know if you guys remember that with Sigourney Weaver. Yep. We have, of course, Jack Frost, Revenge of the Killer Mutant Snowman. So we just always have these. So yeah, we'll give it a shot probably. Next, Giancarlo Esposito, who we love. You guys know him from Breaking Bad and, of course, The Mandalorian. He is the villain. In everything, he's always the villain. He joined the cast of that new Universal Monster movie that we don't know anything about, directed by Radio Silence. So he's good. So I guess that's cool news.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah, he's great. He's Gus Fring. He's Moff Gideon
Yes. I was like racking my brain for that name.
Yeah, Moff Gideon is a son of a bitch.
Yeah. For real.
He deserves everything that he... Oh, by the way, I'm Mandalorianing it up today.
I saw that. It's awesome.
Connor's got a shirt that says "The Child," so we rocked him today. Perfect.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's cool news. That's all that we have on that. We don't know anything else about it. They're keeping it very much under wraps still. But I'm excited for a new Universal monster movie, and I like Radio Silence. I've liked both their screams so far, and Ready or Not, which we'll have to do at some point. Guys, this is kind of cool news. Halloween 2 is getting a retro tabletop board game.
What?
It's called Halloween 2, the game. You guys want to see what this game looks like?
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go. What do you think?
Can you zoom in any?
You always need to zoom in, you old bastard.
It's super tiny.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I'll play it. It looks pretty cool.
Looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the box is amazing.
Yeah. There's so much going on. I'm like trying to figure out what all this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll read you a little bit about the game itself. It's made for 1 to 4 players. The game features a double-sided board that allows Michael to stalk and kill with 3 levels of difficulty. Collect weapons, face obstacles, set up roadblocks, draw unpredictable cards. So basically, one person is Michael, and the other people are the victims, is what it sounds like.
Nice.
So that sounds like a lot of fun. It is retailing. It's a Kickstarter through July 13th, and it's starting at $59 to grab a advanced copy. That might be something to invest in, and I would pay $60 to play that game probably.
Yeah.
Even just to have the board and the artwork, I think would be worth it. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, you'll buy 2. One you can play, and one you can just
Collect.
Yeah.
Collect, yeah. Geez, we're not all made of money like you, Derek.
Yeah, Derek.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I'm just saying it's an option.
I'm just saying I'm going to buy 15 copies of it. It's not a big deal. Guys, Alien. We've got a release date for the new Alien.
Come in peace.
It's going to be released in 2024, and it's the Fede Alvarez Alien movie. So it's coming out next year.
Ooh.
Plot details are under wraps. That's all we know, is that Fede Alvarez is directing it, and we've got a release date.
And it's been a little while since we touched base on this, but there were 2 projects, right? There was the movie and there was a television show. Is that right?
There was at some point. I haven't heard anything on the television show in quite some time. But I know that this is a standalone story. It's not related to. It's not a sequel. It's in the Alien. It's an Alien movie, but it's not like, it doesn't have Ripley or any of the characters. It doesn't seem like, and we don't know the plot. All we know is basically it'll focus on a group of young people. That's all we know. So it's like a slasher alien, I guess. I don't know. I like Fede Alvarez. I like most of the stuff he does, so I'll give it a shot. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Next, we have some sad news. Treat Williams passed away over the week in an accident. He was 71 years old. That's sad news. You know Treat Williams from tons of movies, from Deep Rising. You know him from Tales from the Crypt. You know him from Miss Congeniality. You know him from the Substitute franchise. He's in the Phantom as the villain in that. And he's in Everwood. He's the father in the show Everwood. 71 years old. So that's, he has a ton of credits. So he, led a good one.
And this was due to a motorcycle accident, correct?
It was.
Yeah, that's a tragedy.
He was nominated for an Emmy for the Late Shift, which is a David Letterman. It's a thing that today's audience will not understand. The Late Shift was a movie about Johnny Carson handing the Tonight Show off between Jay Leno and David Letterman. It was like a whole thing. It's a wild time.
Interesting.
Wild time.
Yeah, that's
and
terrible.
finally, I saved this news for last because I thought it was good news. Linda Hamilton has been announced for Stranger Things 5.
What?
Yes. We don't know. It's so the Duffers say 7 years ago we planned out the complete story arc. At the time, we predicted the story would last 4 to 5 seasons. It proved too large to tell in 4, but now 5 is going to be the last. So we don't know who she's playing, just that she is in it. What are you guys' thoughts?
It's pretty sick.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Linda Hamilton, right?
Yeah, they've had a lot of good actors, be in just one season or two. Like the one that comes to mind is Sean Astin as Bob.
Oh, Sean Astin. Yeah.
As Bob. Yeah, that one. It broke my heart when Bob died. Bob's
a heartbreaker. Yeah, Bob's a heartbreaker.
Bob fan.
Yeah, Bob was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love Sean Astin.
Well, yeah, of course. You know why? Because Goonies never say die. That's why.
That's right.
So yeah, that's great news. Stranger Things Part 5 is coming out, I believe. We don't know yet because of the writer strike. So it's probably not going to be until at least 2024. But there you have it. Pay the writers. Writers. That's all I've got to say about that.
If you don't have writers.
Pay writers. Pay them what they're owed. And that wraps up the horror news. So guys, tonight, we are stepping back into the murky depths of 1991 and Martin Scorsese's psychological horror thriller, Cape Fear. So, Lydia, is this the first time you've seen Cape Fear?
It is not, actually. I watched this movie in high school. I think I was homesick one day, home alone by myself. Let's watch Cape Fear.
Why not? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. So, and I didn't remember as much of it as I thought I did. So I was, it was like a halfway first watch kind of thing. Definitely didn't get it as well as I did, or I didn't get it. No, the opposite of that. I got it better this time. I've learned so much about film since then, so much about actors. It was just a movie then, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie.
This is a movie. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So this was exciting.
Film.
Yes.
This is cinema. Yeah. This is cinema. Derek, this is your first time watching this.
It is from my recollection, it is the first time. I've seen some clips, like there were some moments where I was like, I know I've seen that before. But I think it might have been like the commercial on like TNT when this was in syndication. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've seen the movie.
Yeah, and also the movie has been, of course, parodied to death, most famously with The Simpsons and Sideshow Bob. There's a whole episode that is Cape Fear. I mean, it's Cape Fear.
That's funny.
And it's one of the absolute best Simpsons episodes ever. That's where we get the amazing scene of him like stepping on rakes over and over. Classic. And he makes that sound. Brilliant. This is not my first time watching Cape Fear. I've seen this movie quite a few times. I think the first time I saw it was around the time it came out, around the time it was released, like 92, 93 is when I saw it. The movie was released in 1991. But I remember my mom renting it. I remember watching it. I think my grandparents were there even. And I remember watching it because I vividly remembered the scene on the houseboat at the end and how intense it was. So yeah, this is a movie that's I've kind of lived with for a while. And it's one after this watch, I realized that I don't own this and I need to own it. So it'll probably be added to my collection after this last watch. But yeah, watching it this time again, Sarah watched some of it with me. So it's a good time. So where do you guys want to start? Because I think I want to start with Robert De Niro.
Okay.
What do you guys think of Max Cady?
Dude, Robert De Niro, holy cow. This movie started and I was like, that right there might be one of the best actors in the world.
Yeah.
He is so damn good in this movie. And in every movie, I have to say.
Well, yeah. He is Robert De Niro. Yeah. But his characterization of Max Cady is terrifying and hilarious all at the same time. There's these moments where he's a smart ass and he's funny, and then he just is terrifying. And you're like, yeah, I would not fucking want to run into him. He's crazy. He's crazy.
It's so realistic.
Yeah, like his psychosis is. Yeah. What do you think, Derek?
I think you guys are spot on. Honestly, I would think that he's a method actor. He really kind of transcended the film. I mean, he did a masterful job at this. I mean, you believed that he was this just crazy psycho person, and he's in
amazing shape.
He's in amazing shape. The only thing about him that didn't come across real was there was a scene where they were going up close on his tattoos, and you're just like, those aren't real. But either way, no, he did a phenomenal job. It was amazing to watch him in this.
Yeah, Sarah, like I said, watched some of it with me, and we see him for the first time, at the very beginning when he's in prison and he's doing the push-ups on the, lifts, and then he steps down and he's all cut and everything, and she's like, wow, Robert De Niro actually looks really good. Yeah. She's like, man, I was like, you won't think that by the end of this movie because you're going to be like, what a sleazy fuck. But yeah, he definitely was in phenomenal shape. He got cut for the role. So yeah, Max Cady is one of my all-time favorite villains. He's awesome. What next? Where do you guys want to go from here? Do you want to talk about Nick Nolte?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, since we're really giving praise to Robert De Niro for his acting ability in this movie, really, this movie was not bad. It was not terribly cast. It was really well cast. The only
perfectly cast.
Weakest one, the weakest one I would say would be I'm going to botch her name, the young girl, Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis.
Oh,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is fucking Elaine, man.
I know.
Their names are so similar.
That would be a much different film.
It definitely would be. And I'm not saying she did a bad job in this at all. I'm just saying this had Nick Nolte did a great job. Nick
Nolte is great in this.
Yeah, he is really good.
Jessica Lange. Yeah, she's fucking amazing in this.
Yeah,
and
this cast,
just beautiful.
Yeah,
so beautiful.
Yeah, so they had a great cast.
Yeah, Nick Nolte is really great in this movie because he kind of has a thankless role, right? Like he has to be both strong and weak when it's needed. Mm-hmm. So, and he pulls off everything that he needs to brilliantly because he's also dealing with this kind of inner turmoil. Like he's kind of at war with himself on what lines will he cross and what lines should he cross. So he's kind of having this kind of, and knowing that the whole thing is kind of his fault, but also knowing that he did the right thing, you know?
Right.
Well, and that is that's interesting. When it's his fault, I don't know if we want to get to it now or later, but I'm curious about what you guys think about that whole situation, and should we go into it? You just want to dive into it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Or
So,
do you want to, Lydia?
Yeah. Let's
okay,
do it.
All right. So the premise of this movie is Robert De Niro's character was brought up on rape charges 14 years
Rape and
ago.
battery, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Nolte's character was his lawyer, his defense lawyer. And so his dilemma came from he is assigned to defend this person to the best of his ability. And he got essentially some, I wouldn't say incriminating evidence against the main witness, but at least it would question her character. And so he could either bring that to light, which would maybe get this guy off of his charge, but he knows, or at least he thinks he knows, that this guy actually did commit this crime. And so he suppresses it. He doesn't get convicted of the rape charge, but he gets convicted of a battery charge, which I think is a win for that guy, honestly.
Well, yeah. So basically, the moral dilemma is that as a lawyer, you're supposed to represent your client to the full abilities, because everybody deserves a fair trial. His problem is he knows that he did it because Katie told him that he beat 2 rape charges prior.
Yeah.
So it's like he doesn't think, maybe he knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does a basically dereliction of duty by just not presenting this evidence, but still gives him a good deal. So he's out in 14 years, though Katie says he could have gotten the same thing anyway with the other charge. I mean, he could have also got capital punishment, on it as well, if they were able to prove it to that extent. But so basically, he thinks that he was robbed out of 14 years, and he wants to take that vengeance out on Sam Bowden and his entire family. So when we're introduced to these characters, what did you think of, like, their kind of, we're introduced to kind of their home life to a degree. We're introduced to Sam at work and then at home, and we see, like, kind of, we know that there's kind of a little bit of friction between he and his wife, pretty much from the beginning. What do you guys think of, like, their whole dynamic, like those two characters, the actors specifically?
The actors, they did amazing.
There's that great scene where it kind of all comes out because Sam is protegeing a young woman who is infatuated with him, who's a clerk at the courthouse. He's not having an affair with her. He's not
yet
sleeping with her, but it's definitely leaning into that direction. And he is, I mean, it's definitely, he's not telling his wife about her, so it's an emotional affair regardless at this point. And so it all kind of comes to light. I think that stuff is really interesting because I like how flawed Sam is as a protagonist, because he has his moral upstandings, but he's also has these follies. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of fascinating. It definitely gives you that thriller, like, this is going to be trouble. Like, this is going to be bad. You're like already like, don't do this.
As soon as she's introduced.
Yeah. And it's such a fun scene too of them like playing what is that sport where you're like in the
racquetball?
Racquetball?
Yeah, racquetball. Yeah. Yeah, we used to play that back in the day at the Y.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just not really playing it. We just hit the ball at each other.
I used to just
Yeah.
go in
room.
I used to just go in those rooms and just sing because the acoustics were so crazy
The
in there.
acoustics were great. Yeah. What do you say, Derek?
So I think the thing about this whole situation is it's super relatable, right? So like they've been married for a very long time. Their daughter's 15, so they've been together at least 15 years. And so like there is a monotony that starts to settle in. You know what I mean? And then here comes this young clerk who is infatuated with him, and it's piquing his interest. So I think the situation is really relatable because you could see yourself in that position.
And what makes...
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it just kind of strengthens the whole dynamic of like his morality and where it stands and what things can corrupt that type thing.
Because we also know that Sam has had a prior affair in Atlanta. When they lived in Atlanta, he had an actual affair, and that's why they moved to the town they're in now. So Katie pretty much almost immediately starts stalking the Bowdens once he's out, and we get one of the all-time most iconic scenes of them watching. First of all, they're watching Problem Child 2, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And is that 1 or 2, Derek?
I think it's 1.
I think you might be right. I think it is 1. So they're watching Problem Child, and Katie's in the theater, dying hysterically with laughter, smoking a cigar, being the most obnoxious person on earth. What do you guys think of this scene?
Oh man, yeah. There's so much like tension because he like wants to tell him like, hey, can you like go somewhere else and smoke that and laugh? Like
Like an idiot? Yeah.
Like, it's so like it just makes me cringe to think of like confronting someone and you don't know that person just got out of prison. You don't know who you're confronting when you're in a situation like that in a dark theater, you know, or anywhere for that matter. That's what's so freaky about it. You never know who you're messing with.
Yeah, and it's a relatable kind of situation because we've all been to the theater with annoying people. Like I told the story when we went and saw It, and the woman shining her flashlight at people's faces. So you're just kind of like, you know. But yeah, it's great because it does build this tension. But it's also very funny because he's just stomping on a cigar, laughing his head off out of nothing, at nothing. Just everything that's on the screen he's just laughing at. What do you think, Derek?
No, you guys make great points. I'll tell you, maybe I'll tell that story later at the end of this about the movie theater. It's a different one than the one I have with you, but either way. So one thing that it develops over the course of the movie, but just the absolute focus that he has on his revenge is unrelenting. And it is really, it's a hard thing for people to be that focused on something. You know what I mean? Like, and he's spent his entire 14 years like focusing on this one thing that he's got to do, which is kind of crazy.
He betters himself completely during that 14 years. He becomes literate. He studies the law. So he like smartens himself so he can attack this guy with his full capacities.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I felt like was a little off was so he beat 2 rape charges prior to the one that Nolte's character helped him with, right? Not that you're like somebody in that position where he's not literate. I don't know what that looks like. How could you like?
Yeah, you do, Derek.
Go from no, I know what that 100%. Looks like.
You 100% know what it looks like because he does it later in the movie. He beats the rape charges because they're too afraid to testify.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess. Well, maybe if that was the reason why. I found that kind of like crazy. Like, how do you go from that to this? Because like there's parts where he's like quoting philosophers, the Bible, the law. Like, I don't know how you're that smart and you're illiterate at at a
well,
the age
because
he
he
was,
spends
whatever.
14 he spends 14 years in prison. We see all the books on a shelf at the very beginning. And they even say, "Hey, do you want your books?" He said, "I read them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he just spent all of his time. I mean, what else do you have to do?
That is true. Working out, which he obviously accomplished.
Yeah, he lost 15 pounds, remember? Because he said he loses a pound. They say you lose a pound a year, or you gain a pound a year. And he said he's lost a pound a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that would be 14, 15. Yeah. So, yeah, because he's like basically, he's trained himself to be he's like the evil Batman almost, because it's like just pure determination. Like it just drives him.
It kind of is, yeah. I can see that.
Like this hate just drives him. This determination. And like I said, it starts pretty much immediately because this movie doesn't have a lot of fat on it. It's propels forward from the get go, and he like murders their dog pretty much immediately.
Which you see this coming a mile away.
As soon as you see the dog, you're like, dead. Yeah. But what makes it so scary is in any other movie, you would see the dog, like the dog just mysteriously came up dead. What makes it so scary is Katie coming up to her later with the collar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what a sadistic fuck.
Yeah, and she didn't know who he was at that point.
No. And they don't know how he got to the dog, because the dog everybody stayed inside once they started. That scene at the fireworks is amazing, by the way. It
is amazing. And that's super scary.
Yeah. Yeah, just seeing the dude sitting on your wall.
Well, and it's almost like he's boating. He's trying to get them to see him. Otherwise, because, I mean, from that perspective, he could have done all this and never have been, like, they would have known. You know what I mean? Like, he did that on purpose. It was intentional. Everything
it's all about creating the fear. Yeah.
Is intentional. Yep.
Yeah.
He's driving them crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He is. And he's making him get his hands dirty.
Yeah. Like at the parade, when he sees him and he just goes off, and he was like, "Hey, I didn't do anything. Like, you're lucky I don't sue you."
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, oh, don't.
All the confrontations between Katie and Sam are excellent, because DeNiro, it's like, there's just this tension, underneath the surface, but he's nice on top of it. Like, he's just calm as a cucumber while he's laying the seeds for his fucking evil, basically.
Yeah.
Like when he finds out who he is finally. Oh, yeah.
Freaky.
When he finds out who he is finally. And he's like...
When he takes his keys?
Yeah, when he takes his keys out of the car. And then when he pulls up and meets him on the street and he tries to bribe him.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that great... This movie has great dialogue, by the way.
It does.
In the scene where he tells him, $10,000, he's like, well, let's break that down. And he does the math on what $50,000 would look like. He's like, that's about $10 a day. That's not even minimum wage. You're like, kind of got a point there.
Yeah.
Probably should raise minimum wage, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely do that.
Yeah, definitely do that. But yeah, so he gets scared enough. Go ahead.
Real quick. So at this point, the lawyer counselor doesn't know that he knows that report existed.
Correct.
So this is 100% just his own guilt driving that conversation about, I'll pay you off to go away.
Yeah, because he thinks he's illiterate still.
Yeah.
Because he says, there's no way he could have read the report. He was illiterate. I had to read every affidavit to him and all of that stuff. I guess he doesn't think people can learn how to read ever.
Yeah.
But it's not until that second time when they meet when he tells him that he represented himself through all of his appeals. And we find out the reason that he got as long as he did was because he
Kill a guy.
Well, he
prison,
basically he was supposed to, he could have been in there forever, but yeah, he beat the system and killed a guy, but they couldn't prove it was him, so he still got off. He had to stay for the rest of his sentence. He couldn't go through his parole, but he still got off. He still got to get out because they couldn't pin it on him. Killed a guy in prison, and that's when it gets real for Sam. So Sam goes and hires a private investigator played by Joe Don Baker. What do you guys think of Kursig, this private investigator? Lydia, as soon as you saw Joe Don Baker, come on, tell me. As soon as you saw him.
Me and Jake immediately started quoting so many MST3K quotes. Like,
yeah,
you guys watch Joe Don Baker movies? And Mittens, he's a cop. We just couldn't help it.
No, as soon as I saw him, I think of the Mystery Science Theater, and I also think of he's always Jack Wade from the James Bond movies. That's what he was for me, because he was Jack Wade in 2 James Bond movies, and he was a villain in one before that, which is hilarious. But yeah, so I saw him and I was like, ah, man, what's the one where he's in London? What the hell's the name of that one?
I don't know. I can only think of Mitchell right now.
Mitchell, that's what it is, I think. Mitchell.
Was it Mitchell?
Yeah, Mitchell. As soon as I saw him, I was like, fucking Joe Don Baker. What do you guys think of him in this movie?
Oh. He actually did his usual thing in this, I would say.
He's Joe Don Baker. He's really good. Yeah. Derek, you're muted. You made it far into the episode this time.
So close. I was so
almost
close.
40 minutes. That's a record.
So I know, right? Well, there was at least one episode, where I didn't screw it up. So
it's one
I've got to get on that.
Our 3 seasons.
I thought this was going to do it, man. I thought I was going to do it this time. So I think he did a really good job. I feel like for the character that he was cast, he played it very well.
Yeah, he's very believable.
He was just a little bit of not sleazy. That's not the word I'm trying to look for. He definitely skated around the edges.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it. I mean, he hires people to beat people up. That's not a thing that private investigators. Speaking from experience, that's not something private investigators do.
Yeah. That's Mitchell for you.
That's Mitchell doing his Mitchell-y shit. No, he's great because he's. Yeah, I agree. I think he's really good in it because he plays it very sternly and kind of like he's trying to help this guy. He kind of feels bad for him. So this is something fun. The cop that he goes to, that Sam goes to, is Robert Mitchum. Is played by Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum played the Max Cady part in the original Cape Fear.
Oh.
Nice.
And then you guys, of course, saw Gregory Peck later, right? As Katie's attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So Gregory Peck played the Sam Bowden character in Cape Fear.
I totally missed that.
It's like a circle.
I saw his name in the credits even and was like, when's he gonna drop it? Like, didn't even see him.
Yeah. He plays the Katie's defense attorney.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, so that's really fun. I love that. I love that they got roles in this. And I also love that they just kind of swapped their allegiances. So they made, I mean, they're both in the law, but they made, Gregory Peck defend Max Cady, and they made Max Cady try to attack Max Cady and protect Sam Bowden. It's pretty fun.
Wow.
So yeah, things start to go pretty bad. Because he's starting to stalk them, of course. And then what do you guys think of the scene? Let's talk about the high school scene. The scene in the drama.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
This
scariest
is
scene in the
where
movie.
that's where it gets really scary. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the acting's
And
phenomenal in this scene.
it really is. And I don't know, how old was Juliette Lewis when this was when she was filming this? Because holy cow,
She couldn't have been too old. Looked young.
yeah, I was blown away. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, 73, 83, 45, 67, 89, 90. She was 18.
18. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was hoping she was 18 because I was like, but she really does look so young.
She does.
Mhm.
Yeah, she really does.
And they're saying she's 15 in this. So that's a
Yeah. Yeah, it's good
Wow.
casting. She looks definitely young enough.
just like the way she acted too. It's like
Such a little, yeah, such a girl, right?
mhm.
So before we move forward, I think it's at least worth noting that what really like ups the ante in this scene is the scene that he has with the law clerk that is trying to push for this affair.
Yes.
That's true. We do have to talk about that. Yeah.
Yes. I was going to
Let's
say
talk about that scene first. Let's talk about that scene first. Guys, this scene starts off with a lot of fun with he and her talk. I mean, it's terrifying because we know who Katie is.
Yeah.
But he's being very cordial and very like charming and you know, laughing at her jokes. Though there is a really funny bit where she says the joke about hacking up the husband, and before she gets to the punchline, he laughs. He's like, he thinks the joke is killing the wife.
Yeah. It's so many little details in there, and she's just so drunk to not even be able to pick it up.
So the seduction scene itself of him picking her up is great just in itself.
It is
because there's so much tension,
and the fact that he killed the dog to get him to miss the date with her, right?
Yes,
that is so freaky. Like, how on
pretty
earth
much
did he plan that stuff out?
Yeah, like I said, he's completely premeditated. Everything he does is calculated.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I will say this: without this scene, there's at least a perspective you could have had of where you question whether, you know, maybe he didn't do it back then.
Well,
but this was the scene for me that really cemented, like, okay, this guy, that is who he is.
Yeah, dude. When they're in the when he bites her face.
Oh my god! I thought he was going to kill her. Honestly,
yeah, I did too.
I didn't think she was making it out alive.
He's
so scary, right?
Like he would have killed her, but this was all part of his plan to prove his point.
Yeah, and he knew that she wouldn't testify against him.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And
so
go ahead. Sorry.
No, so that was the plan. He didn't need to kill her. He wanted Sam to feel responsible, but have no culpability on his hands because he knew she wouldn't testify.
Yeah. I'm not a female, so I really can only like look at this from afar, but like that's so scary that like the reason why she didn't want to testify is because what would her coworkers think? This was, I think, what she said, right? What would her coworkers think of her being in that bar, being drunk? Like, it's the stigma she's afraid of attaching to herself for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
If she
there's a problem
with trying to convict that, I mean,
there's a problem within our culture and justice system where we put the victim on trial. Now you have to a degree, if you're because the accused has every right to prove their innocence.
Yeah.
But that fear of being put on trial for being a victim is real.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she knows. The thing is, she knows too. She knows what it's like to be on the other side of it. So, and then she's like us joking about it later at work and stuff like that. So she just doesn't want to go through any of that. And that's you're right, Derek. That is pretty scary. So, yes, once we get to him first he calls her up. What's the daughter's name? Danny. He calls Danny on her phone and tells her that she's the new drama teacher that she hasn't met yet.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he grooms her on the phone. He grooms her.
100%.
And starts telling her about her body and sexuality and stuff. And there's a great fucking shot. We'll talk about the shots later, but there's a shot of him hanging upside down, and then the camera turns upside down so we're looking at him right side up. It's fucking great. But yeah, so she goes to the drama or the theater by herself and is basically in this room with Katie. Let's talk about this scene. Lydia, let's start with you. You are a female.
Yes.
You were a 15-year-old girl one time.
Yes.
So walk us through this scene.
It's horrifying. I really felt very related to this character in this moment, because when I was around that age, I was house sitting, and I would go to someone's house so that they could go out at night, and the kids are already asleep. Don't worry about it. You have the Wi-Fi, bring your laptop, whatever, And I remember a scenario like this where a man tried to groom me, and it was horrifying, and I almost kind of fell for it, and I learned a lesson that night of that was scary. And I was such a paranoid kid anyways. It was okay, don't talk to strangers on the internet from now on. It was oh, I used to be friends with your dad. How are you doing? How is everything? It was awful. It was awful. And that has always stuck with me. So when I saw this, I was it's stressful to think that this happens every day.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, it does.
Watch, if there's any lesson, watch what your kids are doing on their phones, on their computers. You never know who they are talking to, and it could be very deadly.
Yeah, hopefully it's not Max Cady. Could be Max Cady on the other line. You don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's scary, Lydia. That's scary that happened to you. So the tension of the scene worked even more for you than it did for me. And I think it works perfectly.
Yeah, it definitely makes me sweat just thinking about it. I'm no. It makes me so nervous.
When he approaches it, because he's being so cool and laid back with her, and lies right to her face, tells her, no, I didn't kill your dog. I would never do anything like that. I don't hate your dad. I just think that sometimes people need to own up to their mistakes. You should forgive your parents because they really love you. They just don't know how to let you go as a woman. Just perfect grooming shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then asks her permission to put his arm around her.
Ugh.
And then puts his thumb in her mouth.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
How uncomfortable.
Does it twice.
Yeah.
And then kisses her. She's 15. He kisses her.
Yeah.
And then walks out, and she realizes this isn't right and runs out.
Yeah.
Because he goes to the back of the set. Yeah. And she's like, I should not follow him.
That's exactly that performance was so realistic to me.
Yeah, she's really good in that scene. Yeah. What do you think, Derek?
No, you're spot on. And there's a scene later on in the movie, we'll get to it, that I'll call back to this. But yeah, no, he is so, I don't want to say suave, but he plays it perfectly.
Manipulated her. Yeah.
100% he manipulated her. He knew what he was doing. He read a lot of books when he was in prison.
He talks about...
Go ahead.
Yeah, because he talks about Sexton, and he talks about, these naughty books, essentially. And, basically just talks about sex with her. And when she finally says you're not, when she figures out who he is, you can see the change in her face. She's initially terrified. And then he's still really nice to her. So she's getting this affection from an older man who's seeing her as a woman and as a 15-year-old girl that's got to do something to you.
Yeah.
So
It's
she's
scary.
just really confused in her head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since she believes it. She believes that he didn't hurt the dog.
Yeah.
She's so naive, you know?
Yeah.
At that age, your brain is not fully developed to be making like decisions.
Those
like,
decisions.
for your
No.
own safety, even like, yeah.
Terrifying
could
scene.
tell.
One of the scariest in the movie.
It's so scary. Oh my gosh. It's so scary.
Yeah, I was looking over at Sarah. She was just like, and I was like,
And
yeah.
like the fairy tale like background, like the
Mm-hmm.
you know, of
when he
the
asks,
theater.
she asks where he's from, and he says, I'm from the Black Woods.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what a creep.
Mhm.
But he's also so cool because he's Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah. So that's the straw that breaks it, basically. That's the straw that breaks it. He finds out that he came for her, and he says, I need you to go. I want you to hire the guys to beat him up. Because Joe Don Baker says, I can hire some dudes. And he's like, no, I'm a lawyer. I don't want any of that. No. He's like, come on, I do it all the time. $1,000. $1,000 3 guys will do the job.
Well, and back to the like calculated move, like he anticipates a confrontation with the counselor, and so
He does. He just
records-
doesn't know what it's going to be yet. Yeah.
yeah, so he records the conversation that they have where he threatens him.
Yes.
He
And-
buys his coffee.
Yep. Because he
Mhm.
also already buys Joe Don Baker's breakfast because he
Yeah.
already spots him, and they have a great confrontation too
They do.
on the boardwalk,
Mm-hmm.
where basically he's like, I'll kick your ass or whatever, and he's just like, you don't need to be rude with me because I might do something you won't like. And he's like, I'm not some white trash piece of shit. I'm smarter than you think I am. So what do you guys think of the scene where Katie gets beat up and then beats them back up?
That was awesome.
It's kind of great, right?
It's pretty badass.
It
Yeah.
is. It shows you the threat. It like reiterates what type of threat he really is.
Yeah. Like, do you think these goons are going to be able to out tough this guy who's been working out every day for the past 14 years in prison? Like,
And
and
just
like learning.
laser focused
Yeah.
on this
Oh my gosh.
vengeance.
It's
Yeah. You guys don't know what you're talking about. So he doesn't kill the guys. He beats them up and lets them run off.
yeah.
The one guy's unconscious. He just leaves him unconscious. But the tension's so high because Sam is watching
Yeah.
Yep.
and he hears him and he's yelling at him, "Counselor, is that you, counselor?" And he tells him, I'm not some white trash piece of shit. I'm smarter than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm deadlier than you. And I will always come back. And you're just like, oh my God, they need to shoot this guy. Because he's,
Yeah.
this is not good. And
Mhm.
I love when he's like gets close and he's like, are you there? I wonder. Does it matter? Fuck it. He throws the pipe down and walks away.
Yeah. Dude, and that whole like speech that he gives too is like,
It's awesome. Yeah.
yikes. It's so good.
Yeah. It's a De Niro tour de force is what it is. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's definitely the scene that I remember the most when I watched it in high school.
Yeah. It's a great scene. It's a just
Mhm.
flat out great scene. So they hatch a plan because Max puts a restraining order on Sam instead and presents the tape as evidence that he hired these people to beat him up, and then they grant it, and Gregory Peck also calls him in front of the ethics board, and he's in danger of losing his license. So he's basically fucking his family life up. He's fucking his professional life up. He's just putting him in a world of hurt all around. That's pretty cool. Pretty scary.
Yeah.
So he
real quick.
Go ahead.
So at the beginning of this movie, whenever he takes the keys and they have that like banter back and forth and he reminds him who he is and things like that. I had to rewind it. I even had to turn the subtitles on because as he goes to pull away, he says something to him that I didn't catch at the beginning, and now I can't think of what it is. It was like you're going to learn what.
Yeah, he says you're gonna learn not pain, suffering. It's either pain or because he says I'm sorry for basically your pain or your suffering or something like that, and he says you're gonna learn about that. You're gonna learn about suffering.
Yeah,
and he's like, and because he repeats it later, he tells him what he said. Also, I wonder, when he takes his keys and he's holding his keys to that conversation, does he take his house key during that?
Ooh.
that's interesting.
Because the dog dies
Yeah.
after that. And we know that he's in the house. So they hatch this plan. Go
ahead. It doesn't matter.
Oh. So they hatch this plan that Sam's going to go to this trial that he needs to go to. He's going to pretend to go. And they're going to set a trap for Katie. They're going to have a gun. They're going to be waiting for him. And because if he steps into the house, it's trespassing and they could legally kill him.
Yeah.
They can shoot him, kind of a stand your ground rule kind of thing. So they set up the trap. Joe Don Baker's there with his gun.
With his teddy bear.
Some filament to a teddy bear, yeah. And they wait, and he does not come the first day. And Juliette Lewis, Danny, goes outside at the beginning of the second day and finds Sexton outside for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes it, and she's really close with the maid. So she's teaching her Spanish, and they're really close. And so she takes the book upstairs, and she's like, "This is crazy. This is sick. You guys are gross. You don't even know if he did anything. He may have killed the dog, but I doubt it." She doesn't know how dangerous it is because she's kind of infatuated with him. But Sam has a revelation on the second night that he was already in the house. How else would he be able to kill the dog?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that great shot of like him like waking up and seeing like the negative filter, and he rubs his eyes and he's gone. What do you guys think of this kitchen scene? Because it's set up earlier. There's a scene where Sam is playing the piano and he hits a note and the piano wire's missing.
Yep.
And it comes back. What do you guys think of this kitchen scene?
This got me.
This got you?
Yeah, it got me.
Like it scared you, or
I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it.
You know what I didn't see coming? That disgusting cocktail that he makes of like liquor and Pepto-Bismol.
Oh yeah,
That's gross.
That is pretty gross. Yeah.
That was nasty.
Anyway, I didn't see the maid being killed, but no, she was a casualty as well.
Yeah.
And then so he's choking the private eye, and he pulls the gun up and he gets him to shoot himself in the head.
Yeah.
Then he says, "I learned that in prison." I that part I didn't really understand, but
the garrote wire is what he learned in prison.
Oh, I got you.
I thought he meant like dressed in like a woman.
Maybe that too. He probably learned all three of those things. But
he did reference at one point he got sodomized.
He did get raped.
That's not good.
So I mean, it's kind of just desserts if you're raping people and then you get raped.
I guess.
But it's still not good. It's not good for anybody to do that to anyone. Exactly. Is what we're saying.
Yes.
But yeah, I love the kitchen scene because it is kind of unexpected. You don't expect him to be dressed up as the maid. You know he's there. You know he's coming, but you don't know how it's going to happen. And then he pulls out the piano wire and starts cutting into his throat as he's strangling him, and then he makes him shoot himself. And then he nopes out of there. And because they go down, they see that like all of this mayhem happened. The maid's dead. Joe Don Baker's dead. There's blood everywhere. Sam slips in it.
Oh, that got me too. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's so gross. Yeah.
That was a hard fall too.
Yeah, it was. So he takes the family and he's out. He calls the lieutenant, says, I know what it looks like. I don't care. I'm getting my family out of here. Find Max Cady. There's force majeure, which is God's will. So all bets are off. So he takes the family. They go to the houseboat that they mentioned earlier that is located in Cape Fear. And this is when we get one of the other most iconic scenes, which is him belting himself underneath the car.
Yeah.
That's iconic. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It's pretty scary because it's like
iconic.
shows the pure determination of this guy, the lengths he will go to.
Yep.
And how he thought everything out.
Yeah. No, I agree. On one hand, I'm like, could someone really do that? On the other hand, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, that's a great scene, right? Yeah.
It is a really great scene, yeah. And at this point, they think that they are really clear, right? They're going to the safest place that they can think of.
Getting on a boat,
leaving the mainland.
Nowhere.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. No one will find them or anything like that. And so at this point, they've kind of let their guard down a little bit.
Yeah. And there's that great shot when he gets up from the car and he's covered in dirt and everything. And that woman looks at him and he just kind of stares at her. And she's just like, not even going to ask about it. Not even going to mention it.
I think her mouth is open like,
yeah.
Like, what just
nope.
happened? Why are you under their car?
Of course, this is the another bit that's parodied on The Simpsons, one of my all-time favorite bits, where he says, "Who wants to drive through the cactus field?" I do. And then Sideshow Bob says, "No. 4 beats 1." They drive through it. Ow, 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 ow.
Oh my gosh.
So funny. God dang it. But yeah, now we're in the end game. What do you guys think of this whole third act on the boat?
This is insane.
Yeah.
What a cool concept. I just have to say, like, you don't see that every day in a movie,
Yeah, houseboat. Yeah, it's a great setting for a confrontation.
It is a great setting for a confrontation. So this is, I mentioned this earlier. So there is a scene during this third act where he has captured the counselor and tied him up. Mm-hmm. And he is talking to the mom and Danny.
Oh, man, that speech he gives to them.
Yeah, you're right. The dialogue in this movie is just top notch. But there's a scene where Danny is kind of smiling, and it made me pause for a moment to be like, whose side is she on? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, she's at this point she's totally against him because he killed the maid. He knows, but she's smiling because she's embarrassed. First of all, because she's talking about the sexton and talking about wanting her to talk about the sex stuff in front of her mom. So I think that's part of it. And also she's still trying to play the naive girl because she knows that's what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when she gets in the hole, she grabs that lighter fluid.
Oh, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's so disturbing when he's basically going to, he's assaulting Jessica Lange's character.
Yeah.
He's assaulting. Her name is Lee in the movie, by the way. but he's assaulting Lee, and he's like has her on the bed. He's like pulling down her shirt and stuff, and she's reaching for his gun, and before she gets it, he stops it and says, "We got work to do." Nick Nolte, Sam is laying there having to watch all of this because he's tied up, and he's having to see it all through the window. So they pull him in, and this is where he pulls her out of the hole. And what do you guys think of the fire stunt? Great stuff, right?
Dude, it's
So good.
yeah,
So good.
it was really
So
good.
cool. I
great.
jumped up. I was like cheering for her.
Yeah, it's such it's a great triumphant moment because you're like, yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
She fucks
Catches
him
his
up,
face
that's
on
for
fire.
sure.
Fucks him up, turns him into Freddy. He jumps into the water, and but it's all that will, man, that determination. He grabs a hold of the cut anchor.
When he was like holding that flare and the hot like wax or whatever was just like running down his hand.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a great scene too, a great visual.
Really, really will put himself through anything to like get his way in this.
Well, he like explained it that his grandfather used to handle snakes in church, and his grandmother used to drink strychnine. So he's kind of has a leg up on the genetic pool. So you find out that, I mean, it kind of gives you a little bit of his backstory. He was raised in one of those like crazy tent churches. I don't know what to call them.
I mean, just the path that he took in life, definitely, you could tell his home life probably wasn't the greatest.
Yeah. So when he comes back on board, because Sam, you think that he's going to pop up earlier, and when he's looking at the thing, but he doesn't, and then he attacks, and we get this. That's where he has the family held, and he basically is telling them to get their clothes off, and he's going to make them feel the wrath. But at this point, he had cut the anchor, so they're heading towards the rapids. And what do you guys think of this whole end scene? Because it's pretty intense, the fight.
I don't even know what to say. The boat like going down the river is so insane.
It's so intense, yeah.
It's like hitting everything too.
Yeah, so the only critique I really have about this is some of the shots are like real fast.
Yeah, and that's the create more momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, some of it is a little disorienting, which might also be the point of it. But I did find it a little disorienting. A lot of the ways that they position the camera, like really played into what they were going through.
Dude, there's a shot in this that's one of my favorite shots in the movie where he flips over the rail and the camera flips with him.
Yeah.
Such like an innovative, especially 1991, such like a just awesome camera move. And I was like, oh, I love it so much. I can't love this anymore. Yeah, it does get a little fast-paced and disorienting because they're disoriented. So like everything's just kind of going everywhere. And then he cuffs his ankle to the...
Yep.
And he gives him like this feral growl when he does it. Because he's just like, he's had it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're using miniatures in part of this, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't...
that too.
Yeah, I would assume that they use miniatures to crash. I don't think they crash like a real boat like 100
times.
Oh,
no, I know. But like part of it, I was like, man, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. But anyway.
The water.
Yeah, they did a great job. It looks great. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks really so good.
So they both wash up ashore.
Yep.
Katie and Sam, and he's still handcuffed to the pipe. And they start hitting each other with rocks. And then Sam finally tells him, "I'm going to kill you." And raises it above his head to basically finally kill this guy. And the tide takes him out, absolving him from having to murder him.
Yeah.
And we watch as he starts, oh man, Katie at the end of this is so crazy and creepy. He starts speaking in tongues,
Yeah.
quoting the Bible.
Jake was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, speaking in tongues.
Speaking
Part of the
tongues,
snake
I think.
church.
Yeah.
And so he's
Weird.
like, yeah, speaking in tongues, and there's this wonderful shot of right before he sinks, and it's just his eyes.
Yes.
They're just staring at each other
That was cool.
Yep.
before he finally sinks down. And then we get the outro saying they don't speak of it. They just don't talk about it. But she knows she hasn't dreamed of him in a while, and you have to let the past die. And we get that cool close up of her eyes, which is kind of how it started. And then we get by the way, I didn't talk about, we'll talk about all the technical stuff here in a minute, but the music to this movie, it fucking rocks.
Yes.
Especially the main theme.
Yes.
Bow, 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 bow. It's like so good.
Yes. And I recognize the name. Was that one of the people who did like the Psycho theme? Or am I crazy? I recognize the name of...
It's Bernard Herrmann. Yeah.
Okay. That's
because you see, the music is from the original. A lot of it's from the original. Bernard Herrmann scored the original Cape Fear.
Of course.
And then Elmer Bernstein rescored this with Bernard Herrmann's score.
Okay.
That's why the music sounds so great.
That's why it's so good.
Yeah, Bernard
makes
Herrmann.
Perfect sense.
Also, there's a couple of really other great things about this movie. Of course, it's edited by Thelma Schoonmaker, who edited all of Marty Scorsese's movies. The editing's top notch. Compare the editing to this movie to last week's.
I mean, that's not fair.
I think it's pretty close.
No.
Just a different style, but pretty close in technicality. It's
not. You're right. It's not fair. Thelma Schoonmaker has won how many fucking Oscars at this point? She has 8 Academy Award nominations and holds the most wins with 3.
Yes.
In editing.
Well,
she's pretty good.
Some people don't know, but Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was very inspired by Cape Fear.
I mean, I'm sure it got nominated for awards.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the worst awards.
Also,
well, I wasn't going to go there, Lydia, but since you brought it up, yeah.
So, this movie was also shot by Freddie Francis, who's a very famous cinematographer. But what's really cool about Freddie Francis is not only is he a very famous cinematographer that shot movies like The Elephant Man, The French Lieutenant's Daughter, stuff like that. He also directed a bunch of the Hammer films in the 70s.
Nice.
So, yeah, I've known Freddie Francis' work for a while, and you could see some of that Freddie Francis stuff in there, which is so awesome. He shot Glory, shot Man in the Moon. He was awesome. So I wanted to shout him out particularly because I think this movie has some amazing shots. I think the cinematography in it is awesome. And then, guys, let's talk about Marty Scorsese and his directing. What do you guys think of the direction of this film?
It's pretty dang great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's intense. You mentioned it earlier. There's not a lot of fat in this movie. Now, this movie is actually quite long. It's
it is
2 hours and a couple minutes or so.
2 hours and 7 minutes, something like that.
And it starts at a high pace. It continues through the entire thing. He did a really great job. I feel like the characters, the motivation is there for Robert De Niro's character. Man, I don't know that I would have that type of grudge, but I'm not him. So no, he did a fantastic job, start to finish.
Well, yeah, it's Martin Scorsese. one of the best filmmakers of all time. Like, he's one of our premier directors. And this is, I think, his most, besides like Wolf of Wall Street and such, I think this is his most accessible film. I think this is his most, because, you know, Goodfellas is Goodfellas, one of the all-time greatest movies. You know, Casino is Casino, one of the all-time greatest movies. And those are a particular brand of film. This is like him going into full popcorn territory, right? And he does it again years later with Shutter Island, which is another genre piece that he did. But yeah, this movie, you know, this movie is an Amblin movie because it was originally developed by Steven Spielberg.
Really?
We almost lived in a world. Yeah, we almost lived in a world where Steven Spielberg directed this movie, which would have been fantastic as well.
What was he probably had some other project he was doing at the time.
It was a small one. It was a small one called Schindler's List.
That's the one.
Yeah, you know, the 8-time Academy Award winning film. Won him as Best Director Oscar. Just that one. But so he was developing this, and he had Scorsese was developing. He had, because Spielberg had bought the rights to Schindler's List, and he was having Martin Scorsese develop that. And Scorsese came to him and said, "You've got to do Schindler's List. It's about the troubles of, and the tribulations of Jewish people. I'm not Jewish. This is your tribe story." And so basically they traded projects, and Cape Fear came out of it. And I'm glad that he ended up directing it because it's excellent.
It is very good.
So guys, what are we going to rate Cape Fear? Who wants to go first?
Derek does.
What?
Just do it, Lydia. You know what you're going to give it.
What? What am I going to give it?
A high rating. So just give it.
I can go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Man, so I don't know. This is a hard movie. I'm gonna go.
I'll go first. Okay.
I'm gonna go with a 9. I enjoyed this movie. I had never seen this movie before, so Jamie, I'm glad you picked it. And this movie is the camera angles, man. It took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that, and I don't know that I've seen a lot of Martin Scorsese's films. And so, I asked you before we jumped on here, like, is this a normal style for him? And you said no. So I'm glad he chose it because it definitely gives you like some different perspectives, which also like adds to just the scenarios and the scenes that the characters are in. So yeah, I'm going to give this movie a 9. It's quite good.
Lydia.
Yeah, I really don't have very many complaints about this movie, if any. I guess one of my complaints would be along the lines of this is kind of more of a thriller. Like,
it is a thriller.
Like, yeah, than like the standard horror that I like to hold my ratings to. But it is pretty horrifying. So
yeah.
In general, I think it is like it's about a 9.
Yeah, I also am going to give it a 9. It's terrific. It's one of the best movies we reviewed on the podcast. I mean, it really is. But while I was watching it this time, I was like, God dang, these shots are just gorgeous. And the tension is great in this movie. And it's also like a popcorn movie at the same time as being terrifying.
Yeah.
So it ticks all the boxes. And
I have to say, it looks so good that it does. Almost timeless too, because there wasn't really much that dated it. No,
I mean, the technology and stuff like that does, but yeah, no,
it's just like,
the movie's shot beautifully.
Besides the fact that there's phones on the wall, there's nothing really like That's about it.
man.
That really dates it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. And it just, I think it flies by being as long as it is. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's satisfying, has a very satisfying ending.
Mhm.
So
The
yeah, you just
acting.
leave like, yeah, the acting is just, I mean, everything about it. Like, it's like, man, we need more like this. This is classic. This is great stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
I was totally in. 9 for me. That's got to be up on our list, Derek. That's got to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Average.
What do you think stops it from being a 10 for all of us, though?
We almost gave it a 10. I think I just didn't want to give a 10 out all the time.
I
Because
mean,
there's really
compare
nothing-
this to our 10s like Scream and Halloween and
You know what? I almost want to change my rating to a 10 because it's just as, I mean, the other 10s we have are like, I mean, Jaws, of course, we all gave 10s because it's Jaws. I don't see this movie doesn't have that many flaws in my opinion.
yeah.
For what it is, you know. It's actually a great work of art while being a piece of popcorn shock at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. And like the actors alone like blow my mind. Like when I saw the
I
entire
talked myself into it. It's a 10.
All right. Jamie's giving it a 10.
It's a 10.
I'm still gonna stick with my 9 just because of the horror aspect.
But I mean, really, Psycho's a thriller too.
I definitely recommend this movie. Like
Everyone to see it. Yeah, everyone needs to see Cape Fear. It rules. Where would this stand, Derek?
Hang on just a second, because I messed something up.
Whose turn is it to pick? Lydia, it's your turn.
Yes. I'm really struggling. I've got a small list of things to choose from this time, but I can't. I like to like pair things together. But
yeah,
also,
I did that last week. I tried to go with the total opposite of last week, basically. I was like, this is a weird schlocky, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell it is. I was like, let's go with class. Let's go class.
And I kind of want to stick with that a little bit.
Yeah, Derek will bring us back down next week.
So. Yeah, it's like, or I could just go
Rude.
else. Oh shoot. There's a couple good ones that I want to see.
All right, think about it. Because what we'll do first is Atkinize this movie. Who would Tom Atkins play in this? And why would he be great as a Joe Don Baker character?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely the Joe Don Baker role. Definitely.
He'd be great in that role, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he really would. He could be that like kind of sleazy.
Yeah. Tough, hard as nails guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But
he would also make a great Sam as well.
Yeah.
But Nick Nolte is brilliant in this, so I don't really want to cut him out.
Yeah.
He would make a great Sam, though, I think, too.
I think he would as well.
What do you think, Derek?
I would it'd have to be Sam, man. I'm not replacing Robert De Niro in this movie.
Well, no, but we also
next level.
We also had Joe Don Baker. He could play the Joe Don Baker role as well.
I mean, he could. He'd be typecasting him at that point, but
we always do.
By the way, this movie is 12th on our list.
12th on our list?
Well,
yeah.
How is it so low? We 9, 9, and 10.
Yeah, I know. Well, a lot of them have like multiple 10s above it. Jaws, Scream, The Conjuring, Conjuring 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street, It Chapter 1, The Thing, Psycho, Christine, Evil Dead 2, and American Werewolf in London are all the ones.
Wow.
No, I think
love that. I love that. Yeah. That's our like.
I mean,
those are all great ones.
Top 10 best horror movies that we reviewed.
Well, and
Those
like
are wonderful.
yeah, and it only lost to like 1, 2, 3, 4 of those by like 0.2. You know what I mean? Like it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a great one.
Pretty close.
yeah,
I'd say it's every bit as good as Psycho. Honestly,
yeah.
I think it's every bit as good as Psycho.
I don't know.
Maybe not as groundbreaking as Psycho. Maybe not as groundbreaking, but I think it's every bit as well made as Psycho.
Yeah.
And it has great music by Bernard Herrmann as well. So you have that going for you.
Yep.
Did you know Hitch never won an Oscar?
Really?
Really? He won a Lifetime Achievement Oscar, I think, but he never won a competitive Oscar.
Wow.
Martin Scorsese won one for The Departed.
Nice. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great one. Spielberg has 2 for Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. So, Lydia, what are we doing?
All right, I think I'm just gonna go just out and about, out of the way a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and do Amityville 2, The Possession.
Oh, you said you were going to pair it with something good. You're fucking going Derek territory on me.
You know, I would
thought you
watch
were
it,
gonna say-
guys, because I do have picks coming up.
I was hoping you would do something like Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Well, my other option was, again, 2 weeks in a row now that I was going to pick Rear Window, and I think that would have paired really well with this.
Why don't you pick it? You just always wuss out on it.
I know, I don't know. I think it's because it's not free anywhere. And I'm like, I don't want to rent it. I would rather buy it, and I don't have the money to buy it right now. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with
All
that.
right, where's that one streaming?
Oh, I don't know. It's streaming.
Wait, what do you mean? So you might have to rent this piece of shit too.
That's true, but oh,
This movie is something.
I've never seen this one.
Good. You're in. So it's free on the Roku channel, which I don't have. I don't think. Watch it on. You can rent it off YouTube, Apple TV, Vudu, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and Redbox. So we're gonna watch Amityville 2: The Possession, which is not as good as the first one, which we loved so much. So
Right.
We'll get into it. Lydia's turning into Derek 2 on me. Speaking of Derek, do you have a story for us?
I could tell you. So it's not a long one, but I can tell you the movie theater one.
Tell us that one, and if you think of another one, you could tell it as well.
There was one time I almost I probably would have gotten into a fight at a movie theater. Like I was on the verge. So me and an ex-girlfriend went to a movie theater in Muncie, and we were going to watch, I forget what movie it was. And one of the ushers came up in his little scooter, right? He was a handicapped person.
Oh.
And so he's trying to give this pre-speech thing about, this was before they had the thing about turn your cell phones off and stuff like that.
I remember that. Yeah. They'd go up to the front of the theater. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And these guys down the way from us started making fun of him because he was handicapped.
Oh no.
And when I realized what they were doing, I started to get up and walk forth, and my girlfriend freaked out. She was like, "Don't do it. Don't embarrass me. Please sit down." I'm like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? How are these guys doing this to this guy? What a bunch of pieces of shit." Anyway, I sat down and I didn't do anything. I wish I would have, because it really pissed me off. But anyway, don't be a jerk. That's really the moral of the story.
Yeah, it's a good moral. There was also the time that we went and saw Die Hard, Derek.
Yeah, I remember that.
You and I went and saw Die Hard, and Carrie went with us as well, and we're sitting in the seat. We went to the midnight showing of it. So we're in our seats, and I crossed my leg, and it happened to brush against this guy's seat when I crossed my leg. One time. It's not like I kicked the seat 40 times. I crossed my leg, it brushed against the seat, and he turns around and he said, "Is there going to be a problem?" And Derek leaned over him and said, "I assure you, there will not be," in the most intimidating voice possible. I was like, that'll teach him.
Yeah. Holy cow.
The way he said, "I assure you, it will not." And I started busting up laughing. I was like, this is amazing. I'm glad this happened. There was also the time that we went and saw Superman Returns. You remember that, Derek?
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And we're like, it's dead silence. We're watching the movie, and out of nowhere, this guy goes,
What do you do?
he went, "Hup." And we were like, what the? He did it a couple times. And I mean, we didn't know if it was a guy with Tourette's or something. But no, it was just some asshole. Just being annoying for some reason.
Oh, my God. I remember that movie for a completely different reason.
What is that?
Because I had a really good joke in there. So it was the scene where like Superman picks up the continent and then throws it into space and he falls back down, and they take him to the hospital, and they're trying to put needles in him, and I like quietly I whisper over to Carrie, I was like, I wonder who pays his medical bills. And then like the next scene he's like gone out the window, and I leaned over and I was like, I guess he doesn't. Something stupid like that, and she got a good chuckle out of it.
I think one of the most awkward, Derek, is when we went and saw Rob Zombie's Halloween in the theater.
And I fell asleep?
No.
House of a Thousand Corpses, I fell asleep. Anyway.
Yeah, we went and saw Rob Zombie's Halloween. It was you, me, Joey, and Carrie. And there's a lot of like graphic sex going on in that movie. Like there's, you know, the porno mag with their like bent over and stuff. Then there's like the rough sex scene. And I remember Carrie is literally sitting right beside me, and we're just like, this is so fucking awkward. And then we were also like, this movie sucks. No, we'll talk about it one day. It definitely won't get Cape Fear ratings, I can tell you that.
That is very accurate.
So that's what we're gonna do. Amityville, The Possession.
Mm-hmm.
So watch that for next week. Be sure to comment down below on your favorite horror movie or movie theater stories, since you just heard some of ours. Be sure to comment down below also on future movies you want us to do. We're always open to suggestions. And you can follow us online. You can follow us at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. Follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. Follow us each on Twitter. You can follow Derek at DDoglyMaster. Follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky. And you can follow me at Racket. Be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.